you go back to Proverbs 1, read up through chapter 8, you're going to see a character known as wisdom, and the character is spoken of in female terms. And then you get to chapter 8, and wisdom is speaking at the beginning of the chapter, and you get down to verse 22. Yahweh, the Lord, possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. Ages ago I was set up, at the first, before the beginnings of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. Again, this is language drawn from Genesis. When there were no springs abounding with water, before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills, I was brought forth. Before he had made the earth with its fields, or the first of the dust of the world. When he, God, established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle in the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit. Again, this is all Genesis language. So that the waters might not transgress his command. When he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him like a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world and delighting in the children of man. Okay, wisdom is cast as a co-creator in the Old Testament. We see that wisdom was the agent, but who or what was wisdom? In the period between the Old Testament and the New Testament, which we so cleverly call the Intertestamental period, there is a very large body of literature that's written by Jewish rabbis and scholars and thinkers, religious authorities on all stripes. And they know their Old Testament, and they comment and produce a lot of material that deals with wisdom. One of the books that was produced during this period is The Wisdom of Solomon. I will tell you what wisdom is and how she, there's the feminine language, came to be, and I will hide no secrets from you, but I will trace her course from the beginning of creation and make knowledge of her clear. I will not pass by the truth. Another chapter, the same writer, same book, says, for wisdom, the fashioner of all things, again, he's getting that from Proverbs, taught me. For she is a breath of the power of God and a pure emanation of the glory of the Almighty. Therefore nothing defiled gains entrance into her. For she is a reflection, apogasma. She is a reflection of eternal light, a spotless mirror of the working of God, and an image of his goodness. Chapter 9. O God of my ancestors and Lord of mercy, who have made all things by your word. Isn't that interesting? You made all things by your word, then he's going to talk about wisdom. And by your wisdom have formed humankind to have dominion over the creatures you have made, and rule the world in holiness and righteousness, and pronounce judgment in uprightness of soul. Give me the wisdom that sits by your throne. That's an odd phrase. Wisdom that sits by your throne. That implies there's another throne. Kind of wonder if that's the right hand of God. Do not reject me from among your servants. With you is wisdom. Speaking to God again. She who knows your works and was present when you made the world. She understands what is pleasing in your sight and what is right according to your commandments. Send her forth from the holy heavens, and from the throne of your glory send her. There she is at the throne. That's where, like, she's getting her assignment. So she's sent by God right from the throne, that she may labor at my side, that I may learn what is pleasing to you. Chapter 10. Wisdom protected the first formed father of the world. Now this is a reference to Adam. When he alone had been created, she delivered him from his transgression and gave him strength to rule all things. The Jewish writer is crediting wisdom with the redemption of Adam. When the earth was flooded because of him, reference to Genesis 6, wisdom again saved it. When you look back in your Old Testament, you don't see wisdom in Genesis 6 through 9, do you? But again, they're thinking that it's the same as saying Yahweh, so what's the big deal? Another intertestamental book, Sirach, reads this way. Wisdom praises herself. It's kind of interesting. Isn't God the only entity that should be praised? You know, the Shema, the Lord our God is one. And here wisdom praises herself, tells of her glory in the midst of her people. In the assembly, this is a reference to the divine council, in the assembly of the Most High, she opens her mouth, and in the presence of his hosts, she tells of her glory. I came forth from the mouth of the Most High. Now, wait a minute, I thought the word came forth from the mouth. And I'm telling you this deliberately. There's this blurring of wisdom, word, and even God. I came forth from the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth like a mist. I dwelt in the highest heavens, and my throne was in a pillar of cloud. Where have we seen that language before? Cut to the chase a little bit. I could produce a lot of texts for you about wisdom more generally. Think of Proverbs. You may have not even thought about what you were reading in chapter 8, that all of a sudden wisdom is a person that's a co-creator right there at creation. You probably thought, and for really good reason, and this is accurate as well, that wisdom is about right living. It's about obeying the commandments of God. In fact, wisdom, literature, is the commandments of God. It's God laying out His will. It's giving you the repository of how you are supposed to live, and not just in a heavy-handed way, but really that if you live according to this way, it's good for you. It's the best for you. God knows what's best. The Jews thought of Proverbs that way, and they thought of wisdom that way. In fact, to the Jew, wisdom was the Torah. They believed that the law was eternal, that it was there when God was there. Now, that's quite a bit different than what the New Testament writers are going to do with it. Because the Jew takes all of that person language and embodiment language and transfers it to the Torah. Judaism used to have a doctrine of two powers in heaven, both Yahweh, so it wasn't polytheistic. But that's how they initially parsed some of this stuff. Jewish thinkers and authorities went back to books like Sirach and the Wisdom of Solomon and the idea that wisdom should be equated with Torah. And they made the law the focus of all that they were about. It was as though the law had an existence and a personality all of its own. It was an extension of Yahweh. Now, Paul and some of the other New Testament writers, what are they constantly talking about? That righteousness doesn't come by the law. It comes by this person, Jesus. That person, that second person right there, is God. He is wisdom. He is the Word. He is the angel. He's all these things that we associate with embodied deity in the Old Testament. So you can see that the conflict is just transparent. It's Christ and the law. Which wisdom is it? Which word is it? Is it this person, Jesus of Nazareth, or is it the Torah? You know, Jesus says, I didn't come to do away with the Torah. I came to fulfill it. I'm the embodiment of it. Okay? Now look at this synoptic passage, Luke and Matthew. Let's go with Luke. The speaker is Jesus. Jesus said, woe to you lawyers also. You load people with burdens hard to bear, and yourselves do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe to you! For you build the tombs of the prophets whom your fathers killed. So you are witnesses, and you consent to the deeds of your fathers, for they killed them, and you build their tombs. Therefore also the wisdom of God said, I will send them prophets and apostles, some of whom they will persecute and kill. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, you get to Luke. And what does Luke do with it? Jesus is cast. He is equated with wisdom by virtue of the personal pronoun. It's no longer wisdom sending the prophets. Jesus said, I sent them. Now, if you read the synoptics together, this is a synoptic equation between wisdom and Jesus. And they both rule out the Torah, or at least put the Torah in its proper place. Book of Hebrews. Wisdom of Solomon, we had this verse prior, says, wisdom is a reflection, apogasma, of eternal light, a spotless mirror of the working of God, and an image of His goodness. Now the passage below is Hebrews chapter 1. Long ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. But in these last days, He has spoken to us by His Son, whom He appointed the heir of all things, through whom also He created the world. He is the apogasma of the glory of God and the exact imprint of His nature, and He upholds the universe by the word of His power. Apogasma in the New Testament is used one time, right here. I would suggest he's citing or alluding to Wisdom of Solomon 7:26 because Wisdom of Solomon 7:26 is part of the Septuagint, and it's the only place that word occurs. And again, it is an equation pushing the Torah aside. The Torah is not the co-creator. The Torah is not God's agent for everything. Wisdom is, but wisdom is Jesus.